Hello and welcome to the Glossy Beauty Podcast, a show about the business of beauty and wellness. I'm Sara Spruch-Feiner. As beauty editors, we obviously get a lot of emails about the latest treatments, the latest ingredients, and of course, we're also watching what's resonating on social media.
This is a bag of sperm.
Okay, so I just got microneedling, and you're never gonna guess what they put in my face. Salmon sperm.
Wow, interesting.
So it's the hottest thing in skincare and helps with like recovery.
A little weird.
I am going to go get salmon sperm injected into my face. This is probably the craziest skincare treatment that I've ever had done, but you cannot argue with the reviews online. Everyone seems to be saying that Regeron seems to be the most incredible skincare treatment that they've ever done. So I'm gonna go try it out today.
It's not just a TikTok trend. It's a lifestyle.
It's been almost a year that PDRN has been infiltrating my inbox, my packages, my TikTok FYP, and as a result, my brain. And if PDRN isn't ringing a bell for you, perhaps a simpler terminology for the ingredient will, and that would be salmon sperm. Of course, I knew the ingredient trend originated in Korea, as so many beauty trends do. But I realized that when I really thought about it, besides the sort of shock factor of the salmon sperm of it all, I didn't really understand what it was or why it was good for the skin beyond general buzzwords like regenerating. And so it makes sense that I was confused. There's PDRN in serums and moisturizers, but also lip balms, scalp serums, under eye masks, and so much more. And now PDRN is moving beyond K-beauty and into products from brands around the world. So I wanted to understand the trend, how it got started, and why it's gotten as big as it has. But first, I wanted to know what PDRN is.
So PDRN really stands for polydeoxyribonucleotide, which basically means fragments of DNA.
That's Dr. David Kim, a dermatologist who has a clinic in Manhattan. He's also the founder of Lightsaver, a sunscreen brand.
What's interesting is they've discovered that salmon sperm DNA is very similar to the human DNA. So the compatibility is really, really high, anywhere between 96 to 97%. And so what it does is when you inject it or when you apply it topically, you're kind of waking up your skin cells to rejuvenate, produce collagen, and help with skin texture, the hydration, so that you look more youthful, well-rested, and glowy. So that's the ultimate goal, whether it's with an injectable as an in-office treatment or with skincare.
Dr. Kim's practice focuses on aesthetic treatments like the skin-tightening ZERF, lasers, and microneedling with Regeron, a company known for its salmon DNA products.
PDRN doesn't automatically mean that it's from salmon sperm. PDRN could be derived from anything because PDRN basically stands for polydeoxyribonucleotide, which basically means fragments of DNA. So the fragments of DNA could be from plants like roses or like salmon sperm. And so depending on where the PDRN is sourced from, that really does impact the quality of the product. Whether, the plant-derived PDRN works as effectively as salmon sperm-derived PDRN, it's questionable. And I think there's still so much research to be done, but the most evidence and scientific research is based on salmon sperm DNA. There's a company called Pharma Research that makes Regeron, and they produce both the injectables and the skincare, and they have a vast amount of research that they've done. And so I think those research really does matter in getting the products with the right ingredients at the right concentration and the right delivery format so that you actually get the benefits that you need by using these products.
Regeron, I don't claim to be an expert on, but it just launched in Sephora. So now American consumers can get their topical products here. But I do think there's confusion about, maybe expectations of thinking that, you might get certain results from a topical product when perhaps that's what maybe people are thinking is actually coming from these in-office treatments that are available in Korea and are in fact not FDA approved here in the United States and are therefore not available here. Are those in-office treatments something that you would recommend if, say, you had a patient, going to Korea? And what should people know about the difference? Because obviously we know that, a needle delivering something to your skin is different than you putting it on at home, but maybe people don't necessarily understand, the like manifestation of those differences, so to speak.
If someone were to go to Korea, I would highly recommend trying Regeron. I think it's a cool product. And it is FDA approved in the United States to be used as a topical product. You just can't inject it yet. But I know the company is actively in the process of going through the FDA clearance to get that indication so we can get the treatments here as well. Whether it's worth it or not, 100% worth it. The only thing is that to get the maximum benefits, you have to do 3 treatments anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks apart. So you may not get the full benefit if you just do 1 treatment, but you can get the taste of it. A lot of my patients do go to Korea to get treatments here and there, and everyone has raved about the results that they got from Regeron. Salmon sperm is not new in Korea. It's been around for 10 plus years. And so it's been widely used. I think it just picked up steam really fast because of the power of social media. Everyone started to see it on social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram. And I think it really took off. But it's not something that just hit the market in Korea. It's a product that people have been using consistently for 10 plus years.
Michelle Lee is the former editor-in-chief of Allure magazine, where she helped usher in coverage of K-beauty trends. Now, she's the fractional CMO of Landing International, a K-beauty distributor. Michelle travels to Seoul regularly, where she scouts what's happening in K-beauty and often treats her own face as her testing ground.
I am just someone who is personally obsessed with all things beauty and especially skincare. And so particularly, I've been covering K-beauty for more than a decade. As a journalist, but then because of my own personal interests, I'm just completely immersed in that world. And obviously, partly for work and for personal reasons.
I would love to hear from your perspective what PDRN is. How do you define PDRN? I think many of our listeners will have sort of seen PDRN either just in the name of a product or on a TikTok, on social media. How do you understand PDRN?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not a scientist, and I'm assuming you probably have many smarter scientific minds on this episode than me. But I think from a pure layman's perspective, it is a fantastic injectable and topical ingredient. And so when it is injected, it does quite different things than when it's applied topically. Not to say that they are not both useful, but I have tried both. As I understand it, PDRN, obviously we first heard about PDRN with salmon sperm, and just those words made everyone go, what? Salmon sperm? Oh my God. And so of course it's something that ended up going viral, partly because of the curiosity factor, but also partly because people saw the effects of it. I had the injectable PDRN when I was in Seoul over last summer, and I definitely saw an incredible result from it. So that type of thing, when you see an incredible before and after on social media, of course, that gets shared very widely. And it's something that just ended up taking off completely.
I feel like there's a specific perception and sort of presence that PDRN has here, where especially I think maybe some of my friends that aren't into or following beauty maybe still would be like, huh, what? But if you're into beauty, very much this is something you're seeing. It's coming up on your For You page. You're seeing it, if you search PDRN now on Sephora or Ulta, you are getting several results, more than several. And you're seeing it in various kinds of products. And I'm wondering sort of how would you compare the presence here to the presence in Korea? Is this something that it's not new there? It's just sort of taking on perhaps a new life and getting a life of its own here. But there, would you say this is something that everyone knows, that it's, there's signs in the streets for the clinics that are injecting it? Like what is the sort of life of PDRN in Korea as you've experienced it?
Yeah, well, as we were talking about before, I definitely have been to Korea quite a lot, especially in the past 6 months. I've been 3 times.
So jealous.
And so on top of, again, personally just really being fascinated with all the treatments and procedures and all the things, I also spend a lot of time in stores there. And it's again, partly personal, but also I love doing market research. And so, of course, I'll go to Olive Young. I'll go to some other beauty stores as well. But then there's also this thriving world of Korean pharmacies. And so actually, when you go to the Korean pharmacy, there's a lot of PDRN products that are not familiar to us yet here. And so I bought something, oh my gosh, what's the brand? Hev Blue, which has actually started to go a little bit viral. And so what it's known for, the amount is actually escaping me, but the number of ppms, which is sort of, again, like the concentration of the actual PDRN is so high. And I don't want to quote it wrong. I want to say it's like 100,000 ppm, whereas a typical other PDRN product, maybe you have 5,000. And so within that market of Korean pharmacies even, we're starting to see innovation. They're kind of like pushing the envelope a little bit. I would say nowadays, like this is actually much different than it was even a year ago. The proliferation of K-beauty brands and products in the US, I'm starting to now see when I go to Seoul, and again, this is quite different, a lot of the products and the brands that we're seeing there are very similar to what they are here now. And so, for example, I have this Anua PDRN mist, right? That same PDRN mist is sold here now. It's also sold in Korea, and it's quite popular at Olive Young. And so I don't know that, within like the sort of the mainstream stores there, we're seeing a lot of those same things now very quickly reach US shelves as well. I would say where I'm starting to see more of the, oh, this is new and really different, is in those pharmacies. When you're going to skin clinics, it's just one of those things. It's almost like getting Botox here, right? Where it's like you have this menu of things. You can, if you go to a med spa or a dermatologist, you have your regular menu of it's lasers, it's Botox, it's fillers, et cetera. Rejurin and different injectables, it's just one of the menu items. And it's not necessarily, I would say in Korea, people do talk about it, but it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's old news. It's not old news because it's like people still talk about it. But because it's been around for so long, it's one of many things on a menu. Versus because here in the US, it's still not legal to inject PDRN, even though we all know there are some unscrupulous people who are doing it. You can use the same actual Rejurin, and they'll send it, to doctors, et cetera, in the exact same concentration, the exact same little vials. You're just not allowed to inject it. What you can do, though, which I see quite a lot, is that people will get microneedling or they'll get lasers or some other treatment, and then they are able to topically put the PDRN over as an in-office treatment.
When do you remember? Like, what's your early memory of PDRN and discovering it? When did you try the injectables or first try topicals? Like, what's your personal history with the ingredient?
Yeah, so Sara Spruch-Feiner, who's the CEO and founder of Landing, which is the company that I work for, I remember her talking about PDRN years ago, right? And where, again, it was like that curiosity factor of as soon as she said to someone, oh, I got the salmon sperm injection, everyone in the room was like, what? Like, we want to know all about this. But this was a while ago. This was, again, several years ago. And so at least I would say I didn't start really hearing about it more widely until at least a year after she started talking about it. So when I was in Korea, like I said, last summer, it was the first thing on my list that I said, I want to try this. And it started taking off a little bit on social media, but still at that point, it was, only a couple people, I would say like some influencers who were like Korean locals. We were seeing some of that content, and some US influencers were starting to do it. So I went to her doctor, actually, in Seoul. And so she's been going to this dermatologist, Dr. Park, for many, many years. And she said, when you go, you can have an idea of what you want to do, but keep an open mind, because what's better is for him to take a look at your skin and then for him to say, this is what I think that you should do. And so I was, okay, I'm going to keep an open mind, whatever he says. But like, regardless of what he says, I definitely want to do Rejurin. And so we did our consultation, and he recommended a whole bunch of things for me, which I did not have on my list. And some I said yes, some I said no to. But first and foremost, I want to do Rejurin. And so I did it. And as you'll see on a lot of people's social media, the way that a lot of dermatologists and skin clinics work in Korea is that they stack treatments. Here, typically, you do one thing, right? Like maybe you're going to get ZERF, maybe you'll get one laser. In Korea, the belief is really to stack lasers, it's to stack treatments, and then you'll actually get a better result eventually from stacking all the treatments. So I had gotten in order of like during my treatment, I had stacked 3 lasers. I had got Juvalook, which is kind of like Sculptra, I would say. And then the very last thing I got in that one treatment was the Redurin. And so with Redurin, you're able to get either manual injections, so imagine an actual syringe, or what they call, you can get it by machine. And so essentially by machine, as I understand it, the machine has a head with multiple needles on it. So it's much faster, but also apparently much less painful. Different doctors believe different things. The doctor who I saw believes that getting the manual injections is more effective because you're able to control it more, you can control the depth, etc. It's also much more painful. I have never seen a treatment or procedure before that is so polarized in terms of how much it hurts, though. So for the couple of weeks leading into it, I talked to so many people who either said, oh, it's not bad, like it's totally tolerable, or people said, it's the worst pain I've ever felt, worse than childbirth. So I was like, this is a huge delta in between. Like, what's the truth? I will say after doing it, it was very, very painful. Like I've done a lot of things. I realized I made a mistake though, that if I were to do it again, which I do want to try it again, I wouldn't get other treatments beforehand because I think that I had done, all the lasers, the Juvalook, et cetera. So by that point, my skin was quite raw. Probably the numbing cream was wearing off a little bit, but I healed. I think I have the photos. I think it took about 9 days for me to totally heal. And mostly from the lasers, honestly. But after those 9 days, my skin looked incredible. The way that people talk about glass skin, it definitely was incredibly clear. My skin looked very plump. The effect doesn't last forever though. And so that is why, as with most treatments, they suggest that you do a round of several treatments.
Why do you think that this, we talked a little about sort of like the shock factor when people hear salmon sperm, but why do you think that this is capturing so much attention? I would say really in the past year, at least stateside, like it's been at least a solid year.
I mean, there's been a lot of things said about filler, right? That filler and Botox were kind of the primary examples of injectables in this country. I think there is this fascination with injecting other things that don't necessarily change the structure of your face, but can help improve the quality of your skin. And so when we look at something like PDRN, it's something that feels definitely like a fascination and a curiosity at first. But if we think about things that can potentially help our skin in the long run as well, I think that that's something that is continuing to be interesting as we talk about, and this word is so overused now, but longevity, right? So everything when it comes to wellness and health, we're talking about longevity and how do we do things today that can help build a better foundation that will help us in the future. When we think about skin longevity, I think that this is frankly part of that too, that especially as an injectable, if I can do things today that can help to build collagen, that can help to give me healthier skin later on, those seem like better uses of my time and money as opposed to something that feels like I'm going to do it once and then it's just going to be gone forever. And so I do think that these things, I think one of the reasons that it has taken off has been there is a definite before and after, right? And so if we think about this time of social media that we're in, we love a before and after.
For sure.
We love to see someone who has incredible, plump, like juicy looking skin. And you can definitely see that with PDRN. So, and I think you're right also about it feels kind of forbidden, I guess, because it's not widely available here.
Yeah.
So then people just ask a lot of questions about like, well, one day when I get myself to Korea, I'm going to try this. And there is something very fun about thinking about that.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking it's like this word salad coming to mind for me. Do you feel like you had a really impressive, again, like I keep coming back to you said you want to do it again, but do you feel like you were like glowing after?
I do feel like I was glowing after. And like I said, it didn't last for a super, super long time. Like I feel like the extreme glow lasted maybe for about a month. For me, though, and I'm sure you can understand this too, like when you are a journalist and you just are curious, right? And so for me, it's really the reason why I was the most curious to try it was I heard people talking about it and I want to try something myself so that then I can talk about it and I really understand it better. And I think the reason I would try it again is that, like I said, I feel like I made a mistake by doing so many things right before I got the injections. And so now I want to give it a fair shot and just do that and really be able to say, oh, this really either made a big difference in my skin or it didn't.
I think every beauty editor, someone in this field can tell you a time that they made a bad call as a guinea pig. I certainly have things that I regret to this day. We can talk about that another time.
Oh, that's a whole series.
Yeah, I've made some mistakes in the 14 years of doing this. I think it's inevitable when you're for better and worse, treating your body like a lab.
I know. I posted a video actually on Instagram, and it's probably that one video had almost every publication reach out to me to interview me because I was, again, one of the, I don't want to say I was one of the first, but I was one of the first known people to get Rejurin injections. And I also had a pretty bad reaction. And so I don't know what the reaction was at first, but my face expanded and I got so swollen. And I don't know if it was just a combination of I had gotten the 3 lasers, I got the Juvalook, and then I got the Rejurin. But I definitely had a couple days where I thought, oh my gosh, I have completely messed up my face. And then eventually, the swelling went down. But yeah, I think that, for better or worse, I think it's a good thing, the fact that you're not able to inject yet here. I appreciate sometimes that we take it slow with in terms of regulations because we don't know. Yeah. And it's kind of true that when you want to be first, you're taking some risks.
I don't know if you've been watching this as closely as I have, but I'm starting to see global brands adopt PDRN. So Rodial launched what they're calling a salmon DNA collection. And we also looked at Jan Marini launched a PDRN serum. Valmont, which has used the ingredient historically, but they launched one where there's sort of the marketing shifted and they're talking about it more, as this is what you've all been hearing about, so to speak. And I might even be missing one, but as you know, an edit 3 is a trend. And that is an American, I believe, Swiss and a British brand. So this definitely seems like the ingredient has gone global. And I'm wondering, really one of my last questions for you, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're going to see it more and more where the world is becoming smaller, right? So I work actually quite a lot with, I might have asked you this last time. Are you familiar with Cosmax? So Cosmax is one of Korea's, or I think they are Korea's largest contract manufacturer. And so they're a global company. They also have offices here in the US. They do work, literally everywhere around the world. So on top of working with most of the famous and also emerging K-beauty brands, they also do work with Western brands as well. And so, when it comes to ingredients, especially within skincare, we know all eyes are on Korea, right? Everybody knows that that's where the innovation is coming from. They're coming out with the buzzy ingredients. They have incredible efficacy. Things like when it comes to exosomes and microbiome, there's just so much that's happening there. The speed at which scientific innovation can happen there is it's next level. And so I think as more and more companies look towards Korea and they say, okay, I need innovation, I'm going to go to some of these formulators and contract manufacturers who are based in Korea, we absolutely are going to start to see more of this happen where some of the ingredients and other things make their way into more Western brands as well. Then I don't mind it. I think that it really shows that, again, these incredible high quality ingredients and innovations that are coming out of Korea, they make sense. And if it's going to make everyone's products better, I think that's a wonderful thing.
Michelle is one of the beauty experts making the trip to Korea to actually get PDRN injected. But after the break, I talked to the founder of Rodial, who is bringing the ingredient beyond K-beauty. Since perhaps the beginning of this year, I've started to see PDRN show up in formulas from non-Korean brands, often from more upscale brands with price points to match. Jan Marini, a California-based skincare brand, introduced its Reboot PDRN face serum in January. In March, Valmont introduced its Hydra 3 collection, which includes 4 products ranging from $190 to $290 and also utilizes the ingredient, which in fact it has been using for decades. Also in March, L'Oréal introduced its Salmon DNA collection, including a water oil, sheet mask, and under-eye masks. To learn more about the global expansion and interest in PDRN, I invited L'Oréal's founder to chat about its new collection.
I am Maria Hatzistefanis, founder of L'Oréal Beauty. I started L'Oréal 25 years ago, based in London, and we are a private, self-funded brand. Some of our best-selling products include snake serum, dragon's blood, and bee venom. So we've always worked with high-powered, unusual ingredients that deliver results.
What was your process of thinking, that this was obviously it fit in sort of with some of the other L'Oréal products, like you said, bee venom, but how did you think more about sort of what products to include in your collection and how to introduce, some people, it's a trend on TikTok of sort of girls tricking their boyfriends into putting salmon sperm products on their faces. How did you think about introducing your customers to this ingredient?
So I never really look at competition, and I am aware that it's an ingredient that's been available as PDRN with Korean brands, but I never really look at the competition. For me, what really excited me was it's an ingredient that really fit with a story of strong ingredients that have a story behind them. We also launched at a very unusual format. So we launched what we called a water oil, which is half oil, half water. And for me, I eat a lot of salmon. I feel it's one of the most anti-inflammatory ingredients. And so producing it and putting it in a format that gives you a lot of the omega-3, omega-6 oils that really nourish the skin and give you that extra boost. So it's combining the salmon DNA, the salmon sperm with those nourishing ingredients that will give you the best results. So for me, it wasn't about, let's just come up with an ingredient and throw it into a random serum and see what happens. The process was all about coming up with a luxury product that really differentiates itself from the competition. And it really targets the L'Oréal woman who likes to use a luxury ingredient. And she's not the type of customer who's scrolling through TikTok to find the latest trend. It's all about, we've tried it, we've tested it, we put it in a format that brings that ingredient in a luxury format, and she's loved it.
Amazing. Yeah. Tell me about the reaction so far.
So one of our key retailers in the US is Blue Mercury. And in one of our LA stores, we sold out within 4 hours of launching our salmon DNA. So it's been absolutely amazing. We've already delivered within the last 6 weeks, 3 deliveries. And we cannot keep it in stock. So it's probably one of our most successful launches in the last 10 years.
Wow. And I noticed on your website, you have skincare, salmon DNA, it has its own call out on the menu bar. It seems like you sort of were confident in this launch. Is there, a reason that you sort of felt strongly it would resonate with the L'Oréal woman so much?
Well, we're very careful about what we're launching. So the last launch, which was bee venom as a range, it launched 10 years ago. So we haven't launched a new ingredient in such a long time. So the minute I discovered we wanted to launch the salmon DNA, create that trend, we really felt we had a new point of view to offer to our customers. We had a waiting list, which was 2 weeks before we launched the product, and we had thousands of people sign up on that waiting list. So for me, it's a testament that we do have that L'Oréal customer that believes in what we bring to the market. And because we're not launching products every single day, the fact that it took us such a long time to do a new skincare launch, our customer just believed in us. And if anyone goes and looks at the reviews that we received on our website, we have 5-star reviews within even just a matter of a few weeks. So our customer really resonates with us, and we believe in the product. We've done this amazing campaign, which is very, very sci-fi, very alternative. And I feel everything we did around the campaign differentiates the Rodial salmon DNA to everything else that's out there in the market.
Yeah, tell me a bit more about how it's differentiated in your view.
First of all, coming from Rodial. Rodial is historically a heritage brand. We've been around for 25 years, and we're known for products that deliver results and ingredients that no one else is using. And what's interesting is I was hosting a press event the other day, and everyone said, oh my God, this is the first time we're hearing about the salmon DNA and salmon sperm. And is this a new ingredient? And I was a little bit surprised because I know that PDRN and polynucleotides have been around for a while, but it could be that there's a certain audience that doesn't really look into the TikTok trends and the K-beauty and is not into that. And it felt like it was a brand new ingredient for a lot of our audiences, whether that's influencers, press, or our customers. It felt fresh, and the way we presented it, the packaging, the glass bottle, the way that you shake the water oil and it becomes this bright pink color. Everything about it is such a sensual experience that it really resonated with all our audiences.
I've heard from, other brands about sort of the farms they use to source the salmon DNA and all different ways that people are getting this. How is Rodial getting its salmon DNA?
So it is a byproduct of the food industry. So when we get our sushi salmon and we eat all the beautiful parts of the fish, there's a certain part which contains the salmon sperm and DNA that is usually thrown away. So it is a byproduct of the food industry. So we're upcycling. So we're taking something that would have been thrown away and we take fragments of that. So it's not the whole salmon DNA. It's fragments of the DNA that go into the product. And it's something that otherwise would have been thrown away. So I think it's good for the planet. It's good for our product. Plus, it's one thing I have to say, it's 94% Yucca clean, the salmon DNA. It is a clean formula. We've only used top quality clean ingredients, including where we source the salmon, because it's food. You can literally eat the product. I'm not saying you should, but you could.
Is it from a particular country? Is it from the UK or is it? Do you know?
We actually do source it from Korea because they have a big salmon production and it's already organized to get you that DNA.
Are you guys positioning this primarily as an anti-aging? Who would you say the product is for?
We call it longevity. So the way that our salmon DNA works, it's like an espresso shot for your cells. So when you apply it, your cells wake up and start behaving younger. So anyone who's interested, not just the old school anti-aging and wrinkles, it's all about the skin longevity. And the younger the skin behaves, the younger your skin is going to look. It's not just about the wrinkle. It's about the plump. It's about the glow. It's about the bouncy effect that you feel immediately after you apply the product. It's about the glow that you get. Even the immediate glow that you get, you can put it on, apply a little bit of a concealer, and you're good to go. For me, it ticks so many points. It's not just a treatment. It's an all-rounder, a skincare product that you can slot in immediately into your routine and have your cleanser and follow with your moisturizer. And this is your SOS to wake up your skin and make you feel and look younger.
Given how well this collection is doing, do you think it might further expand?
There's always a potential for that. It reminds me when we first launched the Dragon's Blood Sculpting Gel 15 years ago, and it was a single product, and now it expanded it into a range of 10 products. So there's definitely the potential, but we're one of the brands. We don't like to launch products for the sake of expanding a range. We're going to listen to our customers, see if there's any gaps within a product category that we're missing, and then explore what we can add. But there's definitely potential for more salmon DNA.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Glossy Beauty Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help us out. And of course, visit glossy.co/beauty for even more coverage of the beauty industry. Bye!